Today, I will be speaking something about different traits of Buddhism and the values in this contemporary world. What are the Buddhist values and how these values help in different things. In this series, the first one, I will be speaking about conflict resolution, how applying through Buddhist values we can address the issues of conflict resolution. The whole world today is in great turmoil. It is full of tension, there is instability everywhere, and there are numerous conflicts every day based on ethnicity, race, religion, politics, ecology, and even ideology. They have cropped up in an unprecedented manner to disturb the peace in the society. A sense of uncertainty, a sense of frustration, misconduct, distrust, and above all, a grave risk of mass destruction of humanity is seen in every nook and corner of this world. Now, this is a serious problem, and unless and until this serious problem is addressed too, the world will be in great danger. It is therefore necessary to have a perfect conflict resolution mechanism to prevent the world from being destroyed completely. Now, how these Buddhist values will help in developing a conflict resolution mechanism? Is there any way? Has there been any teachings of Buddha how to deal with this problem? If Buddhism is a religion, if we believe that it is a religion, then the question that comes automatically, how a religion would help in resolving the conflict. Buddhism, or for that matter, any religion, should not engage itself with the state or directly become involved in the political process, although sometimes it can offer some suggestions. We have seen in the history that wherever the religion got itself engaged in the statecraft, there has been new conflicts. So, it is most times we find religion should not engage itself with the state or with the politics directly. Then what happens when the religion gets engaged in this kind of things? When religion becomes tied with the state or state policy, it loses its autonomy and its ability to have spiritual gravitas, because it will lose its spiritual sin when it will be engaged directly in the statecraft, directly in the politics, directly in the state affairs. Today's world faces a new threat, the threat of terrorism, and this is caused in the name of religion by a group of people. Is it true? Some people point out that some religiously affiliated people are doing all harm in the world. Is this true? That some people say that some religiously affiliated people do all the harms? But it is true that at the same time, when this question comes, at the same time, it is also true that non-religious people do it as well by staying passive. When some people affiliated to some religion are doing the harm, then blame comes to those persons. When non-religious people, they remain passive. So it is not important to blame one group of people for that. The question is, isn't it important to focus on the individual rather than their affiliation, and not attribute actions of any individual to the entire group of people made up of countless more distinct individuals who are not doing any harm and who are not engaged in any of these things. Individuals matter. It proves that each organization is made up of individuals, and it is as strong as the individuals itself it is composed of. Hence, we cannot ignore the individual responsibility in the entire thing. Individual respect or empathy transcend the boundaries of religion as we strive towards cultivating a more peaceful world. If you ask me, I would rather say that Buddha did not teach Buddhism as a religion. Rather, he taught the way of human understanding, where the importance and the role of individuals assume greater significance in creating peace. With this, the focus of governments and institutions would shift towards what it can do to effect the changes. What are the Buddhist ideologies? Buddhism negates Atman or self, unlike the Hindus. Hindus believe in Atma or Atman of the self, but Buddhism believes in Anatman. There is no self. A fundamental difference between Hinduism and Buddhism concerns the self or the soul of living beings. Hinduism affirms that living being possesses a self, namely Atman. On the contrary, Buddhism doesn't believe in that. Atman is not physical and is distinct from the body. It is not in the body. It is the soul, we say. Atman is never physical, but it is distinct form of the body. Anatman or Ananta, in Pali it says Ananta, is existent beings with no self, but they are only causes and effects. Buddhist thoughts revolves around Anatman, which is not solely a philosophical but also a psychological concept, because it touches on fundamentals of suffering. When we discuss about Atman or Anatman, we must understand this analysis of self takes one closer to I, within inverted comma, I, and within the inverted comma again, others. It is between I and the others. The self takes me closer to I, myself, and it takes me away from others. The distance is maintained. The more the person identifies with himself or herself in a complete attachment, the more he or she develops the distance, sometimes even hostile to the others. This becomes the basis of suffering and the interpersonal conflict as it widens the gap between self versus others. We can put it like between us versus them, between I versus you. So it is only when this gap narrows down then the true conflict resolution can take place. Now, the first noble truth vis-a-vis conflict resolution. Conflicts and sufferings are inevitable in all living beings. While most animals engage in one-to-one conflict, the man is confronted with interperson, intrapersonal and group conflicts even between countries and continents. Technology has made the world even very smaller so that people connect themselves. The world is even smaller to connect people, but the conflict or the contact through which it happens, this doesn't necessarily make for more interpersonal harmony or even for peace. Even if the people come closer, that never helps in bringing peace. The reality of suffering, the first noble truth of Buddhism, is experienced by each one of us. Desire for craving or getting more attention to persons and to objects, to health or to material possession is one of the causes of these sufferings. Attachment to one's territory, one's country, leads to a division of world like ours versus yours. We are right and you were not right, you were wrong. It makes a set of people think they are right, while other set of people, they do not agree to that perception. Craving breeds negative emotions like anger. If I don't get anything, I become angry. Craving breeds negative emotions like anger, greed, hatred, which play crucial role in generating and escalating every kind of suffering and conflict. Like craving, fear, anxiety and anger create a sense of phobia, often directed towards a well-defined object or a certain behavior. It might be the fear of losing what we cherish and what we think we possess. Similarly, anger with destructive connotations often generate negative emotions which raise new conflict-related action, either I as an individual or a group. Now, anger breeds anger. If I am angry, I make other people angry too. Anger breeds anger. Emotional arousal, as proved, however, blocks quiet thinking and hinders sensitive listening to the others. If I am angry, I don't listen to others. So naturally, anger breeds anger. Fear and anxiety are also linked to the indignation, and its mixture with emotional arousal lead to verbal or physical abuse and attack. Anger can also be interjected by the individuals. In that case, and in that combination with fear, fight and depression, these all are coming to being. Extreme fear can be expressed in an apathy, a jolt. Some states tend to aggravate the conflicts, which can turn into new and usually high levels of negative emotions it creates. Therefore, it is important to keep levels of emotional arousal as low as possible. For conflict resolution, mediation is a way, and Buddhist teachings, the mediator to build a mindset which is conducive to conflict reconciliation. These include the practice of non-violence, compassion, wisdom, empathy, and benevolence. Practicing these Buddhist virtues will not only help to cool down high level of negative and potentially destructive emotions. Then we discuss about other ways like ahimsa and compassion. Compassion or karuna is deeply related to the concept of non-violence. These entail empathy, respect, and appreciative acknowledgement of the other party. Compassion as a core Buddhist value is essential prerequisite in conflict resolution strategies. Wisdom or prajna is related through practicing of compassion. Buddhist teaching refers to the practice how to communicate compassion. It is through upaya or the skill, and this means that the communication guided by empathy must be tailored specifically to the needs of the other party. Compassion implies a responsibility to act. Benevolence or empathy in conjunction with non-violence and compassion, the virtue of benevolence or kindness, metta, is another basic prerequisite of conflict resolution. Assessment of conflict and steps to be taken. In every kind of conflict resolution process, an engagement is always necessary. The engagement between the stakeholders, and it requires a transcending of I versus you. After assessment of the conflict situation and after introspectively having become aware of one's inner emotional state, of mediator has to neutralize the level of arousal before meeting both the parties. The mediator then can take the first step to build a meaningful connection between the two parties or the two persons. This connection is achieved by active listening. Mediator has to listen both the parties. Active listening implies true understanding of another's position, explicitly communicated, and during this process, through the mediator's interventions, a positive climate of growth is facilitated between the conflicting partners. As both parties feel more and more accepted in this way, there will be more space to consider potential common ground. Establishing a connection in this way is the foremost priority in the process of conflict resolution. Once this connection is fully established and acknowledged by both parties, and impulse regulation is maximized, the factual problematic issues, the so-called causes of conflict, can then be dealt with in a non-threatening atmosphere of trust, respect, and security. Buddhism teaches the importance of conflict resolution. Clinging to the idea of a separate self leads to suffering. One of the main causes of suffering is craving, and craving breeds negative emotion, which lead to high emotional arousal. Conflict resolution, however, is negatively correlated with high emotional arousal. Buddhist mediation is based on virtues as non-violence, compassion, wisdom, empathy, and benevolence. In a true conflict resolution, there is no loser or there is no winner. There is neither winners nor losers in a true conflict resolution. True conflict resolution leads to a mutual and respectable communality. The Four Noble Truths are in fact the state of mind Buddhist inspired definition of mind. The emphasis is on transcendence and change. Mind is a process that regulates the flow of energy and information. Buddhists maintain that mind is essentially empty. This refers to awareness of and the insight into the illusion of permanence and fixed stabilities. The adversary becomes a true bodhisattva. In his turn, he will show benevolence and compassion, and he will let these very same virtues shine in the mediator.